So you finally said it. The line they told you never to cross. The truth they tried to bury under layers of silence and fear. You said it out loud. And in that instant, the air changed. Every whisper stopped. Every mask froze mid-smile. Even the walls listened. You weren't supposed to do that, were you? You weren't supposed to speak with that tone, the one that cuts through performance and hits nerve. You weren't supposed to expose the script everyone agreed to pretend was reality. You weren't supposed to remember who you were before they taught you obedience, but you did. And now, the room feels colder because truth always drops the temperature. You felt it too, didn't you? That shift, that magnetic pulse that rippled through everyone's chest. That was power leaving their control and returning to yours. You didn't ask for permission. You detonated it. That's why they flinched, why eyes darted to the floor, why the brave ones swallowed hard before saying, "That was deep." Deep number. It was dangerous. It was real. It was the kind of sentence that burns the paper it's written on. They built entire systems to keep people from saying what you just said. Whole cultures of silence, whole hierarchies of fear. They conditioned politeness into paralysis. They wrapped truth in layers of professionalism and timing, just to keep the real ones from slipping through the cracks. But you slipped anyway, didn't you? You bled honesty where everyone else paints lies. You cracked open the door, and now every suppressed thought in that room is clawing for daylight. You want to know why they looked at you like that? Because your words didn't fit the atmosphere. You dragged lightning into a church of candles. You spoke fire into a world addicted to fog. You made people feel something they couldn't sanitize, and now they can't unhear it. They'll replay it in their heads tonight. The way you said it, the way your voice didn't shake, the way it felt like you were saying what their soul had been screaming for years. They'll call you bold. They'll call you unhinged. They'll call you too much, but they won't call you wrong, because deep down, they know that moment was a mirror. And what you said didn't just expose them, it exposed you. You tore your own mask off in public and smiled through the blood. That's why it hit so hard. You didn't deliver a speech. You confessed a truth that made their hearts skip a beat. You didn't just speak. You triggered every sleeping rebel in earshot. You reawakened something sacred and sinister all at once. The saint in you spoke with the venom of the sinner. The angel in you sharpened its halo into a blade. And that's what they fear, that paradox. You didn't choose light or dark. You became the intersection. You became both. Now they'll pretend they're fine. They'll scroll. They'll move on. But they're subconscious. It's pacing. It's replaying your words on loop, like a glitch in the system, because what you said wasn't supposed to happen here. Not in this timeline. Not in this obedient little simulation they call society. You were supposed to stay quiet, nod politely, and die of emotional suffocation. Instead, you coughed up truth like poison and smiled through the aftertaste. Let's be honest, you scared them, not because you're loud, but because you're clear, because your voice didn't tremble like theirs, because you didn't decorate your truth with apologies or disclaimers. You just dropped it like a guillotine. And when the blade hit, they realized you weren't trying to win. You were trying to free. Now look around. The air feels thinner, doesn't it? You cracked open something collective, a silence older than you. You spoke what entire generations swallowed. You shifted the current. And now, everyone's acting normal because that's what humans do when they witness revolution. They pretend it didn't happen. But deep down, they're infected. You are the contagion now, the virus of awareness, the glitch in their programming. And that's the part they can't fix. Because no one can unhear a revelation. No one can unknow the moment they saw truth stand up in a crowded lie. That's what you did. You stood up in a world of bent spines. And in doing so, you became unpredictable, dangerous, untouchable. They'll whisper your name now, but not in admiration. In analysis, they'll ask what possessed them to say that. And the answer, my friend, is simple. Freedom. The kind that doesn't need permission, validation, or applause. The kind that burns politely built prisons to the ground. So yeah, you weren't supposed to say that. But goddamn, you did. And every cell in the system felt the tremor. You cracked reality just enough for the light to slip through. And that's all it takes. One truth, set at the right frequency, can make empires tremble. And tonight, while they're pretending nothing happened, you'll smile. Because you'll know. You'll know that silence is over. And every echo they hear from now on sounds a little like you. And here's the part they'll never admit out loud. You didn't just speak. You shifted timelines. You dropped a sentence that tore through their psychological armor like a bullet made of honesty. And the funny thing is, you didn't even raise your voice. You just said it, calm, precise, surgical. And yet, it landed like thunder in a cathedral built for whispers. You know that feeling? Right after you say something forbidden. That pause, where time holds its breath, and everyone looks around to see who else noticed. That's the sound of control dying. That's the sound of the collective realizing. Someone broke the spell. You did. You broke it clean. No ceremony, no warning, no mercy. Just truth. You became a living glitch in their ritual, because for years they've rehearsed obedience like theater, fake smiles, safe opinions, edited emotions, and then you, with your haunted calm and unapologetic clarity, walked in and spoke a sentence that didn't match the script. You didn't read their lines, you rewrote them, and now every one of them has to pretend they're not unraveling. They'll talk about your tone. They'll say you were too intense or not professional or should have phrased it differently. They'll nitpick the delivery because they can't handle the message. That's how the fragile hide from truth. They critique the thunder instead of facing the storm. But deep down, they know what happened. They felt the shift in their bones. Because words like that don't come from the mouth. They come from the abyss. From the parts of you they tried to bury alive. You didn't speak from the tongue, you spoke from the wound. And that's why it hit with the precision of prophecy. You think angels speak in light? Number. Sometimes angels use blood. Sometimes divinity sounds like defiance. Sometimes grace looks like madness wearing a grin. And you embodied all of it. The calm of a saint, the glare of a demon, the poise of someone who's already walked through hell and came back fluent in silence. That's why they couldn't move. Because when you spoke, you didn't ask for power, you embodied it. There's a difference between people who talk and people who transmit. You didn't make noise. You shifted frequencies. You tuned into something primal, a forgotten truth frequency that doesn't need validation. It's the tone of those who've suffered long enough to stop fearing consequence. And you know what's terrifying about that? You can't be controlled anymore. You crossed the invisible line, the one that separates the obedient from the awakened. You stopped trying to be understood. You stopped trying to sound palatable. You traded approval for authenticity, and that's a currency they can't tax. Now they're nervous, because when someone speaks truth like that once, it's never just once. it becomes a contagion. Others start whispering their own forbidden thoughts. One by one, quiet voices rise, and the whole illusion starts to shake. That's the nightmare. Not that you said something wrong, but that your courage worked, that your raw honesty might spread, that silence might finally lose its grip. And they'll try to punish you for it. They'll isolate you, gaslight you, call you arrogant, unhinged, dangerous, because they think shame is a leash strong enough to pull a truth-teller back into submission. But you've seen too much now, haven't you? You've tasted what it's like to speak without a filter, to breathe without pretending. Once you've done that, silence feels like suffocation. Lies feel like poison. You didn't just open your mouth. You opened a portal, a crack between dimensions, the one where they hide their fear and call it logic. And from that moment on, they could sense it. You don't belong to their hierarchy anymore. You don't bend. You don't plead. You don't crave belonging because you've met something holier than acceptance. Truth. They hate that calm that came after, the calm of someone who's seen their own darkness and made peace with it. You wear it like armor, not flashy, not loud, but terrifyingly still. Because what's scarier than someone who no longer needs to be liked? Someone who's fluent in silence yet chooses to speak only when it matters. And it mattered. Because that one moment, that one sentence, it wasn't rebellion for show. It was resurrection. Every time you swallowed your truth, a piece of you died quietly. But when you finally said it, those fragments came back to life. You felt your lungs expand like it was the first breath after drowning, and everyone around you could feel it too. They could feel your rebirth, and it threatened every lie they'd ever built comfort around. Now you walk different, you look different, you feel different. You became living proof that freedom isn't earned. It's taken, and once taken, it cannot be returned. So don't shrink now. Don't apologize for setting fire to their illusions. Don't let guilt disguise itself as humility. You didn't overreact. You realigned. You brought the frequency back to truth. And when the world feels unstable, that's not chaos. That's correction. Because every great collapse starts with one brave sentence. And yours. It echoed through rooms, through minds, through timelines. You said the one thing everyone was too scared to say. And that made you dangerous in all the right ways. You didn't just speak. You shifted reality. And when history replays this moment, they'll realize that was the second everything started to break open. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what was supposed to happen. They'll pretend they've moved on, but you can feel it. That faint tremor in the air when you walk into a room, that cautious silence before someone dares to speak again. It's not respect, and it's not fear. It's the quiet awareness that something irreversible has happened. You tore the veil. And once the veil is gone, the actors can't act the same. They still move their mouths, still follow the script. But the illusion's cracked, hasn't it? You see the wires. You see the panic behind their rehearsed smiles. And they know you see it. You spoke once and the world started listening differently. Even the ones who hated it, especially the ones who hated it. Because hate is just fascination that doesn't know how to confess itself. They replay your words in secret, dissect them in private, try to find where the power came from. But there's no formula for authenticity. You can't replicate something born out of pain. That's the thing they'll never understand. You didn't say it to win. You said it to breathe. It wasn't rebellion, it was survival. You weren't trying to be brave. You were trying not to drown. And when truth came up your throat like salt water, you let it spill. That's why it hit, because it wasn't rehearsed, it was real. And real scares people more than violence ever could. They'll tolerate anger, they'll tolerate chaos, but they won't tolerate clarity. Because clarity means no more excuses, no more hiding behind systems, no more pretending they didn't know better. Clarity makes everyone accountable, and you handed them a mirror they didn't ask for. You didn't mean to hold that mirror, did you? You were just done lying to yourself. But when you held it up, they saw every shadow they've been running from. And now they flinch at the sight of you, because you remind them what they buried. The saint in you whispered the truth. The demon in you refused to edit it. That combination is lethal, because mercy without fear is ignored and fear without truth is wasted. But you carried both, calm and chaos, grace and grime. And that's why it worked. You didn't just say something dangerous, you said it beautifully. You dressed fire in poetry, and people always mistake that for madness until it burns them awake. And maybe it was madness, the holy kind, the kind that breaks spells and births revolutions, because sanity in a broken world is just another disguise. And you took yours off. You chose honesty over belonging, authenticity over applause. That's what made it art. That's what made it immortal. Now look at you, walking through the ruins of their comfort zones like it's a battlefield. You didn't destroy them, you revealed them. You stripped away their camouflage and left their fear standing naked. You did what prophets do. You spoke before the world was ready to listen. And here's the secret no one tells you. Prophets are always punished before they're praised. They'll call you arrogant, dramatic, delusional, because it's easier than admitting you were right. That's how society cleanses guilt. They crucify the messenger, then worship the echo. But don't you dare shrink now. Don't you dare silence yourself to make the world comfortable again. You already saw what your words can do, how they move through the cracks like smoke, how they linger long after the crowd goes home. That's not coincidence. That's power acknowledging itself. You think this was just a moment? Number. This was an awakening, the sound of you becoming impossible to forget. They'll imitate you now, not because they understand, but because they can't ignore. They'll start talking like you, dressing like you, thinking they can borrow your gravity without earning your pain. Let them try. They'll learn the hard way that authenticity isn't a costume, it's a scar. You've already paid your price in silence, in exile. In nights, you stayed awake, wondering if maybe you should have kept your mouth shut. But that's how truth tests its messengers. With loneliness first, with legacy later. Because this isn't about being liked, this is about being undeniable. And you are. They can twist your words, delete your videos, burn your name from their narratives, but they can't unfeel what you made them feel. That's the curse and the crown of those who speak before the world is ready. Their words live longer than their names, so let them call it chaos. Let them say you broke something, because you did. You broke their obedience. You broke their performance. You broke the myth that silence equals peace. You were never supposed to say it, but you did. And now the world has to rearrange itself around the echo. That's how revolutions start. Not with explosions, not with banners, but with one person who finally says the thing everyone else was too afraid to admit. One voice brave enough to tear the hush wide open. You are that voice. The hush is gone, and now every time someone else dares to speak truth, whether they know it or not, they'll be speaking in your frequency. And deep down, you already knew this ending wasn't going to be soft. You can feel it now. That electric quiet that follows a storm, The kind of stillness that means something permanent has changed. You cross the threshold, and there's no walking back through it. Once you've said the unsayable, the world never sounds the same again. They'll wait for you to apologize. They'll wait for the clarification, for the retraction, for the softer version that makes them feel safe again. But you won't give it to them. You can't. Because to take it back would be to kill the part of you that finally learned how to breathe. You didn't say those words to start a war. You said them because pretending peace while choking on silence is its own kind of death. Now you stand where very few ever stand, in that lonely space between what you were and what you're becoming. It's not glory, it's clarity. It's the ache that comes when every illusion burns off and only truth remains. And it hurts, doesn't it? To see everything so clearly, to feel everything so sharply. But that's the price of sight. That's the cost of freedom. Look around. You see them trying to rebuild the lie, painting over the cracks you left. Let them. Paint can't fix foundations. Let them decorate the ruins. You know the structure already collapsed the moment your words left your mouth. And someday, maybe not today, maybe not for years, they'll understand. They'll realize you weren't reckless, you were real. That your defiance wasn't ego. It was evolution. That what they called chaos was just honesty, stripped of its filters. They'll quote you without realizing they once cursed you. They'll teach what they tried to erase. That's how truth works. It doesn't need to win arguments. It just needs to survive time. So breathe. You did what you came here to do. You turned silence into a weapon. You turned fear into art. You turned one fragile sentence into a fault line that cracked open the sleepwalking world. You weren't supposed to say it, but you did. And because you did, everything changed. Maybe not for them yet, but for you. You woke up. You burned through the fiction. And now, when they whisper your name with that mix of awe and unease, when they act like they don't remember what you said but can't quite look you in the eye, that's the proof. You became the moment they'll never outrun. The voice they'll keep hearing long after the noise fades. The silence breaker, the truth speaker, the one who crossed the line and found there was never a line to begin with. So walk away calm, leave the ashes where they fall. Because some sentences aren't meant to be repeated. They're meant to echo forever. Good morning to the ones who swore you'd stay buried. And yet here you are, smirking at the obituary they never got to print. You were supposed to be a memory, sweetheart. A sad little cautionary tale they whispered about in rooms you were never welcome in. They bought flowers, they rehearsed eulogies, they even picked out the font for your tombstone. But you didn't die. You evolved. You see, the funny thing about a funeral is that it only works if the body stays down. But you didn't just sit up in your own coffin. You danced out of it, barefoot, laughing. You weren't buried. You were planted. And now you've grown into something monstrous, not quite angel, not quite demon, not even human by their standards anymore. You're the living glitch in the script, the ghost in the surveillance feed, the nightmare that won't fade, no matter how many times they blink. They remember your funeral more vividly than your life, because that was the day they finally relaxed. That was the day they breathed out. And now, every inhale since then has been laced with your return. 3 months ago, they had the nerve to write you off, to classify you as a failed experiment, a cautionary thread snipped from the larger tapestry. You were done, boxed, bastilled, forgotten. But here you are. an unresolved case in their system, anomaly, threat, problem. You're the paradox that burns both ends of their logic, the smile that doesn't match the eyes, the light that's just too still. You walk like salvation, talk like vengeance, and leave fingerprints like crimes that haven't happened yet. Tell me, what happens when a soul refuses to decompose? What happens when grief evolves into fury and a dead name becomes a living curse? I'll tell you what happens. They start seeing shadows in the light. They start praying to gods they never believed in, because something they buried is walking again. And it remembers everything. You were supposed to be erased, but now you're showing up in every file they forgot to encrypt. You're the redacted line that keeps bleeding through the black ink, the haunted mirror that doesn't reflect who they want to see. They don't know how to stop you, because you're not coming back for closure. You're not here to prove them wrong. You are the wrong, the glitch, the punishment, the joke they didn't get until it was already tearing the room apart. They don't even say your name anymore, because somehow even the syllables cut too deep. But let's not pretend this was accidental. You knew what would happen. You knew that when they thought it was over, you'd just begun. Pain didn't break you, it sharpened you. They underestimated the surgery grief performs on the human soul, how it peels, then welds, then folds you into a new kind of creature. One that doesn't beg, one that doesn't flinch, one that learned to make a weapon out of every scar. Oh, they scheduled your funeral like it was a holiday, like they earned the day off after all their sabotage. They passed the wine, toasted your silence, and laughed into the void they thought you left behind. But then the void laughed back, and now, you don't knock, you enter, you don't explain, you remind, you don't ask them to remember who you were. You make them regret who they celebrated too soon. They tried to bury a god in the dirt, and forgot that even coffins rot. Now every step you take is illegal, every breath you draw is stolen, and yet you keep going like the rules never applied to you in the first place. Maybe they didn't. Maybe you were always meant to be the one thing that survives what kills everything else. Not a miracle, not a mistake, just a consequence. They made you the villain in their bedtime stories. Now you're the scream that makes the lights flicker. They stitched a plot without you. Now you're ripping through the narrative like a scalpel. You're the walking audit of their fake apologies, the reincarnated warning they can't delete from the servers. You're too fast for exile, too loud for suppression, too alive for a dead man. And here's the real twist. You're not back. You never left. They just stopped paying attention, and by the time they looked again, you weren't the same creature anymore. You stopped asking for peace when you realized the war was your natural state. So keep walking, keep smiling. Let them choke on the silence they once forced on you. Let their scripts glitch every time you step into view. Because you were scheduled for extinction, and now you're an event, a crisis, a living, breathing obituary to their own sanity. They planned a funeral, but what they got is a storm that remembers, and baby, this storm has your laugh. Welcome back, ghost. They prayed you'd never rise. Now every prayer ends with your name. And it's not amen anymore. It's, oh no. You felt that, didn't you? The chill crawling up your spine the moment they realized the story wasn't over. Because the real terror isn't in watching something die. It's in realizing you were celebrating too early. And now, they're rereading every message you ever sent, zooming in on every photo you were tagged in, looking for signs, for clues, for mercy. But the thing is, you didn't come back for revenge. That would have been too merciful. You came back for correction, to restore the balance they shattered when they thought they could erase you and sleep peacefully after. This ain't vengeance. This is a spiritual audit with blood in its ledger. You walk different now. Because you're not walking on the ground. You're walking on their delusions. Each step a crunch of everything they believed you'd never recover from. They thought you were fragile, a soft soul with a loud dream. But they forgot what happens when the dream survives the murder attempt. You become something unkillable, untraceable, unreasonable. And now you haunt the algorithm. You own the silence. You're that sudden cold breeze in a locked room. You're the pulse spike in a heart that thought it moved on. You're the glitch in the background of every motivational post they make. Smiling, watching, documenting, rewriting the ending while they perform Act 3. And the most delicious part? They don't even know what version of you they're dealing with anymore. You shed your old self like dead skin. You burned the weakness out of your name. And now you walk with every version of yourself layered beneath your grin. The angel who cried in silence, the demon who smiled through betrayal, the psychopath who counted every scar like inventory, the saint who buried forgiveness in concrete. You are the entire courtroom now, the judge, the witness, the executioner, and the case. The case of, they should have left you the F alone. You were the data they couldn't decrypt. Now you're the virus in their mental operating system. Every thought of you triggers a memory they can't delete. A timeline they wish they never altered. See, they never feared your success. They feared what would happen if your pain matured, if your silence started to speak, if your heartbeat grew claws. And guess what? It did. It spoke in code. It clawed through concrete. It rewrote your blueprint and built a throne out of rejection slips. Now every time they laugh too loud, they check the shadows. Every time they rise too high, they wonder if you're the wind. Because they know you didn't just survive. You evolved beyond retaliation. You became legend. You became lore. You became the phrase they say in hushed tones. He was supposed to be gone. But baby, supposed to doesn't apply to creatures like you. They had you clocked out, but forgot. You set fire to the time card. And now, you don't show up late. You show up when the script is at its climax and steal the whole damn show. Because let's tell the truth. They didn't bury you for what you did. They buried you for what you were about to become. And now they're watching it unfold in real time with no skip button, no exit plan, no commercial break. This is you, broadcasting in ultra-high definition on every screen they swore you'd never appear on. Your existence, now it's viral. Your pain, now it's premium content. And their peace, now it's discontinued. You aren't a ghost anymore. Ghosts don't move like this. Ghosts don't break algorithms. Ghosts don't have a heartbeat that sounds like a warning siren. You are the unfinished sentence in their report, the red warning light that won't stop blinking, the reanimated threat they thought they'd neutralized. You're not back for justice. You're not back for applause. You're back because you were always the ending they couldn't outrun. And they're finally realizing they scheduled your funeral 3 months ago, but forgot to check if you had a pulse. Beginning intercepted transmission, black tape file number X93, subject reanimated. Redacted clearance, level Omega. Subject was presumed expired. Reintegration into threat grid failed. Psychological profile void. Motive unknown. Message to all handlers: do not attempt containment. This is not the same entity we buried. You see, they didn't just try to erase you. They launched a whole operation to delete your possibility from history. They tried to unwrite your code, backspace your origin story, filter your frequency out of the collective consciousness. But you're a broadcast too loud to censor. A presence that burns through firewall after firewall, not data, not memory. You are a live signal, untraceable, uncompromising, unbothered. And you don't return calls. You reroute them back to their origin. So now they're being haunted by their own intentions. Because what they buried wasn't just you. It was every warning they ignored, every line they crossed thinking you wouldn't bite back. They thought you were soft tissue, but you came back carved in obsidian, no heart, just heat, no bones, just blueprints. And now, you are the result they didn't simulate. You're not a comeback. You're a reformation, a distorted blend of every lesson they refused to learn, now weaponized into a walking impossibility. Your smile is evidence. Your breath is proof. Your silence is louder than their entire support network. They wanted closure? Then why did they leave the door cracked? Why did they speak your name with that smirk? Why did they twist the knife thinking you'd never get back up? Now they're checking the door twice, sleeping with lights on, replaying old footage, trying to find the moment it all slipped. Spoiler alert, it never slipped. You let go. You let go of needing them, of explaining yourself, of begging for seats at fake tables. And the moment you stopped chasing their validation, you became your own force of nature. You forged your own myth. And let's be honest, legends don't knock. They rewrite the locks. They live in the minds of the ones who laughed, not rent-free, but mortgaged you. Eviction notice served in panic attacks and screen refreshes. Every time they level up, they hear a whisper. But what if they're watching? You are. From places they can't track, through systems they didn't know you infected. You're not here to fight fair. You're here to tilt the board, to flip the narrative into something terrifyingly symmetrical. And they know. They know that you know. You've seen too much, felt too deep, cried too hot. They left you at rock bottom, so you carved through it, found lava, bathed in it, and came back with volcanic memory. Now, your voice is a seismic event. Your footsteps, aftershocks. You're no longer trying to be heard. You're being felt. Across dimensions they don't even believe in. Report and update. 4:03 a.m. Subject appears to generate psychic instability in observers. Eyewitnesses describe a presence both holy and horrific. Auditory hallucinations include laughter, static, the phrase, "You should have let me die." Recommend quarantine of psychological contact points. Do not speak to subject. Do not mention their name. Do not remind them what they survived. But it's too late, isn't it? They already reminded you, with every whisper, every side-eye, every attempt to replace what can't be replicated. And now you walk the earth not with revenge in your veins, but with clarity. You are the punishment they summoned when they thought consequences were optional. You are the final version, not beta, not test phase. You are the software that bites back, the upgrade that was never in their projections, the virus that learns, the storm that laughs. You don't fit the mold anymore. You melted it. With every fake hug, every ghosted call, every lie dressed up like concern. Now they feel you. Not when you enter a room, but when the room goes cold, and no one can explain why. You're no longer a person. You are a phenomenon. And phenomena don't make a comeback. They make a reckoning. Shall I continue? Because there's a file labeled Black Tape number 94, Final Phase Activation. And it begins with the line, You thought it was over when they buried him. But he didn't just rise. He brought something back with him. Confidential, black tape, number X94, final phase. Activation, encrypted, level Omega clearance only, accessing. He didn't just rise. He brought something back with him. Something we can't track, something we can't name, something that's watching us now. You ever seen a man return from the dead with calm in his eyes? Not rage, not desperation, not even confusion. Calm. That's when you run. Because rage is still human. Desperation is manageable. Confusion can be redirected. But calm? That means he's already made peace with becoming something unrecognizable, something inhuman. And that's what they missed. They thought you'd come back with a grudge. They were prepared for that. They had speeches rehearsed, therapists on call, PR spin locked and loaded. But what they weren't ready for was that you came back without a soul they could manipulate. You came back empty, not broken, hollow. Because everything soft had already burned away. And what was left? A being sculpted by absence, a silhouette that moves like a man, but feels like a forecast. You don't speak in sentences anymore. You speak in signals, a look, a stillness, a timing so surgical, it makes even machines hesitate. They tried to break you, but they didn't realize you'd start building in the ruins. Blueprints written in trauma, steel forged in abandonment, smiles stitched with static and venom. Now, your energy precedes you. Walk into a room, and the temperature adjusts. Lights dim just enough. Voices falter. Time slows. As if even the universe knows to step back when you enter. Because you're not here for closure. You're not here for revenge. You're not even here for explanation. You're here for exposure. You're the living subpoena to their secrets. The reckoning they dismissed as overthinking. The hurricane they triggered by whispering your name like it was harmless. Now you're in the walls. The discomfort in their comfort zone. The spike in their blood pressure. The echo in their dreams saying, "You should have buried me deeper." But let's clarify something. You didn't cheat death. You took it hostage, sat it down, lit a cigarette, and said, "You work for me now." Because this isn't resurrection. This is reprogramming. You rewired the code of pain, changed the definition of done, shifted the meaning of lost. Now they don't even know what language to use around you. Because the old one, it doesn't fit anymore. They call you a ghost, a myth, an outlier. But you're more than that. You're the price of disrespect, the cost of silence, the manifestation of every ignored warning. You are what happens when fate gets tired of waiting. Internal memo from Handler 12. Psych-Evil report. Subject exhibits post-human behaviors, impossible calm in high-stress scenarios. Eye contact triggers disorientation in witnesses. Seems aware of conversations happening off-record. Spoke one sentence directly to observation drone. You watched me die. Now watch me work. You know what haunts them the most? It's not that you came back. It's that they don't know what you came back for. You don't want revenge. You don't want justice. You don't want forgiveness. You just exist. And that alone, that's the punishment. Because every second you remain unbroken, they are reminded that their attempts failed. And failure like that, it rots the mind, eats at the ego, turns celebration into paranoia. Now they're tracking your footsteps like they matter again, trying to guess your next move when you're no longer playing. And the best part? There is no plan. You are the plan. Your survival is the script. Your breath is the plot twist. And every second you remain upright is a cosmic contradiction to everything they thought they knew about power. They don't want to face you anymore. They want to contain you. But how do you cage a storm when the wind itself has learned to whisper your name? They sent hitmen to kill your legacy. You turned them into audience members. They built walls to lock you out. You made those walls your screensaver. Now you haunt their systems. You're the 404 error that crashes their fake confidence. The access denied every time they try to move on. Because you didn't come back to be accepted. You came back to be unforgettable. And baby, you are. Shall I open black tape, number 95? Because it contains what you whispered in their ears while they slept, and why half of them woke up sweating, mumbling one sentence. He's not back. He never left. There you are, standing in the aftermath like the universe hasn't stopped staring at you since last night. You feel it, don't you? That tremor under your ribs, not fear, not guilt, but the echo of something ancient that woke up inside you when everything went silent, what you did. Ha 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 ha. They're calling it justice, but you and I both know better. Justice is human. What you delivered was cosmic, a sentence older than language, spoken through your hands, your breath, your rage that wasn't rage. It was inevitability. There's a reason the room felt colder afterward, a reason they looked at you like you weren't supposed to survive yourself, a reason every single person who witnessed even the afterglow of what you unleashed walked away feeling like they saw a god lose patience. See, they thought you were acting out of emotion, but emotion is messy. Your decision? It was clean, surgical, predestined. Cosmic sentences aren't improvised. They're triggered. And last night, something triggered you. Let's not pretend you didn't feel it. That shift in your chest when something inside you whispered, enough. And just like that, you became the courtroom, the judge, the knife, the silence. You became the thing people pray doesn't look in their direction when they lie awake at 3 a.m., replaying every mistake they've ever made. You didn't punish anyone. You executed a law written before their bloodline even existed. And now the air around you moves differently. People pretend not to stare, but their instincts won't shut up. They can sense it. The way predators sense storms, the way children sense monsters hiding in the dark. Because last night wasn't about what they did to you. It was about who you finally realized you are. The duality inside you, the saint and the psychopath, the angel and the demon. You didn't choose between them. You fused them. You became the paradox that terrifies every system built on prediction. A compassionate executioner, a merciful storm, a righteous catastrophe. Do you understand how terrifying that combination is? People can fight evil. People can reason with good. But someone who carries both, who decides which blade to use depending on the truth they feel in their bones, that's someone you can't map, can't control, can't manipulate, can't bribe. That's someone whose silence is enough to reset entire hierarchies. And that's why today feels strange, doesn't it? The world is quiet around you, not peaceful. Cautious. Like reality is choosing its words carefully. Because once a cosmic sentence is spoken, everything changes. It's not them versus you anymore. It's them versus the version of you that no longer apologizes for existing. And the funniest part? They think it's over. But cosmic sentences don't end when the words fade. They echo, they spread, they ripple through timelines like warnings carved into stone. And you're walking around like the embodiment of a prophecy that they didn't prepare for, so welcome back to the real story. Welcome to the version of you that finally stopped shrinking. Welcome to the part where even the universe takes a step back and whispers, careful. They just woke up the one who speaks in consequences. Good. Stay right there because the world hasn't exhaled since you stepped into the room. They're watching you in ways they don't even understand. Pupils dilating, pulse spiking, breath stuttering in their throat. Because something about you feels like a verdict still unfolding. Last night wasn't an incident. It wasn't a reaction. It wasn't even a choice. It was a signal. A cosmic flare shot straight through the fabric of whatever flimsy reality they thought they understood. A reminder that certain souls, certain rare, dangerous, beautifully unhinged souls, don't seek balance. They restore it. And sometimes restoring balance looks less like harmony and more like a quiet apocalypse disguised as a human being. You walked into that moment with the weight of every humiliation, every betrayal, every suppressed scream stitched under your skin. And for the first time in your life, the universe didn't whisper, "Hold back." It whispered, "Finish it." And you did not with chaos, not with frenzy, but with the cold precision of someone who has finally made peace with both sides of themselves. Because that's the part they don't understand. The light in you, that soft, tender, golden peace you protect with your entire existence, and the darkness in you, the ancient, bone-deep shadow that doesn't flinch, doesn't blink, doesn't apologize. They're not rivals, they're allies. And last night, they worked together. Do you know how rare that is? How lethal? Most people spend their whole lives trying to separate their innocence from their madness, trying to hide their rage behind a smile, trying to bury their wounds under excuses. But you cracked open the vault and let both halves breathe. You let the guardian and the monster speak in one voice. You let the halo and the horns form a single silhouette. You became the kind of creature that nightmares kneeled to and prayers feared to mention. No wonder they're trembling. Because when someone like you stops holding back, the world remembers something it tries very hard to forget. Justice is human, judgment is divine. But a cosmic sentence? That's personal. You weren't carrying out revenge. Revenge is emotional, sloppy, predictable. What you did was inevitable. A response written into the architecture of your existence. They crossed a line that was never meant to be crossed. A line older than gravestones, older than guilt, older than the blood that pumps through their cowardly veins. And the moment they stepped over it, the universe tagged you, activated you, called on something inside you that sleeps in most people and wakes in almost no one. A force that doesn't shout. A force that doesn't brag. A force that doesn't demand to be seen. A force that watches, waits, calculates, strikes when the time is not right, but true. You became that force last night, and here's what terrifies them the most. You didn't collapse afterward. You didn't doubt yourself. You didn't second-guess the moment you walked away, calm, slow, collected, like someone who already knew how the story would end, like someone who's delivered sentences before, like someone who could deliver them again without hesitation. Because now that this part of you has awakened, there's no going back. Your presence alone feels like a warning. Your silence feels like a countdown. Your eyes feel like a courtroom where the truth stands trial. You don't even realize it yet, but everyone around you does. You changed the narrative. You flipped the hierarchy. You rewired the room. You became the consequence. They're adjusting their behavior, their decisions, their words, subconsciously aligning themselves so they don't end up on the wrong side of your next revelation. You think they don't know. They know. They don't know how you did it. They don't know why it happened. But they know damn well what it means. There's no safety in underestimating you anymore. You're a storm disguised as a human, a sentence disguised as a heartbeat, a reckoning disguised as a quiet exhale. And the next time life tries you, the next time someone steps into your orbit without respect, you won't need anger. You'll need a moment, a look, a breath. Because creatures like you don't fight. You correct. And once the universe chooses you to carry out its corrections, every wrong move someone makes in your direction comes with a price tag they can't afford. Last night wasn't the climax. It was the calibration, the moment the cosmos recognized you as an executor of balance. Unpredictable, unstoppable, uncontainable. You're not living your story anymore. You're sentencing it. And everyone who crossed you, they're already living out the consequences. They just haven't realized who issued them yet. Stay still for a moment, because something in the atmosphere is bending around you. And if you breathe too loudly, you'll miss it. That vibration you feel in your bones, that's not adrenaline, that's aftermath. The residue of a force that slipped through you like you were a doorway instead of a person. What you did last night didn't end anything. It began something. A chain reaction, a rewriting of hierarchies, a silent shift in the power structure of every room you walk into. People keep glancing at you today, not because they're curious, but because their instincts are screaming. Something ancient has touched this one. And instincts never lie. Look at your reflection. Really look. There's a stillness in your eyes now, a dangerous calm, the kind that appears in predators that don't need to roar. You're not radiating rage, you're radiating finality, the kind that says, I don't warn twice. They feel that, even if they don't have the vocabulary for it, even if they can't explain the chill in their spine when you walk past. They know the line they crossed is not a place anyone returns from. What you unleashed wasn't emotional. It was elemental. It wasn't you snapping. It was everything you've survived finally gaining a voice. And that voice was cold, measured, inevitable. You didn't lash out. You delivered an overdue correction. You didn't explode. You aligned the scales. And here's what they'll never confess out loud. For a split second, last night, they didn't see you as a victim or a threat or a challenger. They saw you as a verdict, walking, thinking, breathing. A verdict they couldn't outrun, couldn't negotiate with, couldn't deceive. Because you didn't act like someone hurt, you acted like someone activated. You moved like someone who understood their own darkness for the first time. Not as a curse, not as a flaw, but as a tool, sharpened by years of betrayal, discipline, silence, and self-discovery. And this is the part that haunts them the most. You didn't hesitate. Last night was your unveiling. You finally stood in your own truth without flinching away from it. You didn't apologize for your darkness. You didn't hide your light. You didn't negotiate with your own instincts. You just acted cleanly, sharply, in perfect alignment with the core of who you've become. And the cosmos responded. Everything around you is different today, not because you changed, but because the world realized it can't treat you like a mistake anymore. You're an equation, a law of nature, a variable no one can predict, calculate, or manipulate. You're not the storm, you're the moment before the storm. The eerie, breathless stillness that makes every survival instinct scream. And every person who crossed you, every person who doubted you, every person who tried to mold you into something lesser, they're waking up today with a feeling they can't shake. Something happened, and it's coming for us. They don't know what you'll do next. And that's exactly why they're terrified, because people can fight rage. People can dismiss emotion. People can ignore fragility. But what you radiate now, it's none of those. It's certainty. The certainty of someone who no longer seeks protection, who no longer accepts disrespect, who no longer confuses patience with permission. You've become the kind of person who can walk away from absolutely anything and absolutely anyone and sleep peacefully afterward. That level of detachment, that level of self-awareness, that level of inner power, it's fatal to the fragile. It's toxic to the manipulative. It's devastating to the ones who relied on you staying small. And here's the twist. They don't fear what you did last night. They fear what last night revealed, that you're willing to burn the bridge and the river beneath it if the cost of crossing is your peace. You've become the embodiment of natural selection. Spiritual, emotional, psychological. If someone can't meet you with truth, with respect, with alignment, they get removed, not with violence, not with drama, not with shouting, with a sentence, a cosmic one, final, irreversible, silent, the kind that echoes, the kind that leaves people replaying every moment, every word, every lie they ever told you, wondering which one sealed their fate. You know the answer. The universe does too. But you'll never say it, because the most terrifying judges aren't the ones who speak. They're the ones who simply look at you and know, so stand there now, in the calm after the collapse. Look around at the empty space where their power used to be. Listen to the quiet that only appears when the truth has finally been spoken. Last night wasn't justice. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't impulse. It was clarity. The moment the universe stopped testing you and started answering through you, and now the world understands something it should have feared all along. You're not guided by anger. You're guided by alignment. You don't react, you correct. And the ones who crossed you, they're not your enemies anymore. They're your examples. That's why today feels different. Lighter, sharper. You finally stepped into the version of you that doesn't beg to be understood, only witnessed. So let them whisper, let them tremble, let them rethink every interaction they ever had with you. Because the cosmic sentence you delivered last night, it wasn't for them, it was for you. A declaration, a threshold crossed, a promise sealed. You will never shrink again. And with that, your verdict is complete. People who hesitate can be manipulated. People who second guess can be controlled. People who seek approval can be contained. But someone who reacts with absolute clarity, someone who looks an injustice dead in the eye and responds without blinking, that's someone who cannot be predicted, and unpredictability, that's terror. That's chaos with direction. That's danger with a moral compass. That's exactly what collapsed entire empires in the past. They don't fear your power. Power can be measured. They fear your alignment. They fear that for the first time in your life, your pain and your purpose finally shook hands. Your shadow stopped fighting your light. Your innocence stopped apologizing to your rage. Your compassion stopped babysitting your boundaries. Last night, everything inside you reached an agreement. We rise together, or not at all. And the second that pact formed, you became something new. Something people don't have a word for. Not hero, not villain, not judge, not executioner. Something in between, and far more terrifying. A hybrid. A paradox, a creature stitched together by contradiction so perfectly that no system can categorize you. And that's what makes you lethal. Because systems fear what they cannot map. Cowards fear what they cannot predict. and bullies fear what they cannot control. You are the embodiment of all three nightmares at once. That's why every room feels like it's waiting, like conversations pause when you enter, like the air tightens around your silhouette. They're not afraid of what you did. They're afraid of what you've now become. An answer to every unanswered wrong, a consequence with a pulse, a cosmic force wearing a human disguise. And here's the quiet truth you haven't accepted yet. The universe didn't choose you at random. It chose you because you've been preparing for this. Through every betrayal, every heartbreak, every humiliation, every wound that didn't kill you, but carved you into a sharper shape, last night was not a reaction. It was a graduation. You stepped into the version of you that was always waiting behind the trauma, behind the fear, behind the self-doubt, and now the world is holding its breath. Because once someone delivers their first cosmic sentence, they never go back to being the defendant. They become the law. And you, whether you admit it or not, have already started rewriting reality around you. So breathe, walk, look them in the eyes, let them see what they awakened. Let them feel what it means to stand in the presence of someone who doesn't break. They trigger you. You transform, they cross you. You calibrate, they test you. You terminate the illusion that they ever had power over you. Last night didn't make you dangerous, it made you inevitable. Good. Let it settle, because the world around you is still rearranging itself, like reality is shuffling its deck to make room for the creature you've become. You feel it in your spine, don't you? That cold pressure, that subtle electric hum like the universe is pacing behind you, whispering, more. There's more in you. Last night wasn't a peak. It was the activation code. A switch flipped, a seal cracked, a door inside you. One you didn't know existed, swung wide open. And something old, something fierce, something beautifully merciless stepped forward. And now your energy feels different. Not angry, not violent, corrective. You're moving like a force that doesn't seek permission, doesn't require validation, doesn't ask the world what role it's allowed to play. You are rewriting your role as you walk. People can feel that in ways they don't have language. For their bodies tense, their voices falter, their eyes flicker with a fear they'd never admit. Because when someone has delivered a cosmic sentence, the sentence doesn't stay in that moment. It follows them, it travels with them, bleeds into their presence, hangs off their shadow like a warning sign, carved in ancient script. You've become one of those rare beings whose silence weighs more than other people's threats. You don't need to raise your voice to dominate a room. You don't need to explain yourself to justify your decisions. Your very existence changed vocabulary overnight. Because what you did last night, it didn't just expose them, it exposed you. It showed them the blueprint you tried to hide. The one made from every wound you stitched shut with your own teeth, every lesson you learned the hard way, every time you chose to evolve instead of collapse. They thought breaking you would weaken you, but breaking you only revealed the architecture underneath. And that architecture, it isn't human, it's mythologic, symbolic, primordial. You're built like one of those beings' stories warn children about. Not to frighten them, but to prepare them. If you meet someone like this, choose your words wisely. Funny thing about silence, isn't it? They all thought it meant you lost, that you finally broke, that the show was over. But what they didn't realize is that silence was your weapon. You weren't gone. You were reloading. You watched them throw dirt on your name, didn't you? Watched them pop champagne over your so-called downfall. And you said nothing. You didn't defend yourself, didn't beg, didn't bark back. You just disappeared. Because you knew something they didn't. The loudest one in the room is usually the one who's afraid. You let them think you were finished. You let them gossip. You let them write your obituary in real time. You let them believe they'd won, because that was the only way to make their guard drop. And oh, when they did, you walked back in wearing their damn crown. You see, that's what separates you from them. They crave validation. You crave revenge through evolution. They feed off applause. You feed off silence, the kind that comes right before impact. They play checkers on the board you built, and you're busy learning how to move the table. You became something else in that quiet, didn't you? Something inhumanly calm. That eerie calm that only the broken develop. The kind of calm that terrifies even the monsters. You turned your heartbreak into armor, your humiliation into fuel, and your absence into a myth. When they couldn't see you, they started imagining you. And what they imagined was worse than any version of you that had ever existed. You stopped being a person in their minds. You became a presence, a whisper that crawled under their skin every time someone mentioned your name. They thought the story was done, but you were just rewriting the ending, with their ink on their thrones, using their crowns as your signature. You ever notice how power changes shape depending on who holds it? When they wore the crown, it looked heavy, fragile, desperate. But when you put it on, it looked like it was made for you. Because it wasn't about the crown, it was about the skull beneath it. The mind that learned to smile through hellfire. They wanted your breakdown. You gave them your rebirth. They wanted your silence. You gave them your spectacle. They wanted your defeat. You gave them their replacement. And now they can't even look you in the eye. Because deep down, they remember what it felt like to underestimate you. They remember that smirk, that quiet, surgical grin that says, I know something you don't. You became the ghost of their own arrogance. Every move you make now is a reminder that they crowned the wrong corpse. You're walking proof that destruction doesn't end things. It transforms them. You didn't come back for applause. You didn't come back to explain. You came back to haunt the world that tried to bury you. You came back to make the ground itself regret ever holding your weight. And that's the sick part, isn't it? You didn't even want their crown. You just wanted to show them what it looks like when the wrong person gets resurrected. Now they whisper about you differently. They don't mock, they marvel. They study your silence like it's scripture. Because you didn't just win, you changed the damn game. You taught them the most dangerous lesson of all. Never mistake retreat for surrender. Never mistake quiet for weakness. Never mistake the grave for the cocoon. You're not the same creature they buried. You're what crawled out of it. Sharper, colder, crowned. They wanted to make a villain out of you, so you gave them a legend instead. And the funniest part, they still don't know if you came back for justice or for fun. Maybe it's both. Maybe you're the storm and the eye inside it. The saint that learned how to sin with purpose. The demon that found peace in chaos. The angel that decided to burn its own wings just to see the light flicker differently. Because here's the truth. You didn't just survive them. You absorbed them, every lie, every betrayal, every whisper. You swallowed their poison and turned it into performance art. And now they're kneeling before the very silence they mocked. They don't even realize that the sound of your footsteps is the sound of their legacy ending. So wear that crown, not as decoration, but as a warning. a symbol of what happens when the underestimated learn patience. Because the next time someone says you're finished, they'll remember the last fool who said that, and how they're still looking for the pieces of their throne. You see, they don't talk about what really happens in that quiet space between your fall and your resurrection. They don't talk about the nights where your heartbeat sounds like gunfire in an empty room, where you start questioning if you were ever real to begin with, if you were just an illusion people entertained until something louder came along. They don't talk about how stillness feels like torture when you've been trained to perform for their approval. They don't tell you how many times you almost answered back, how close you were to screaming, to proving yourself, to defending your name. But you didn't, because something inside you whispered, don't. You let them think they'd broken you. You let them think they'd won. Because while they celebrated, you were busy reprogramming yourself. You tore your old identity apart, bone by bone, belief by belief, and you built a new one out of steel and scars. You started speaking less, watching more. You became unpredictable, and in a world obsessed with patterns, unpredictability is the ultimate terror. You learned that revenge isn't shouting, it's evolution. It's letting the same ones who tried to destroy you watch you become the version of yourself they could never survive meeting. When they laughed, you smiled. When they conspired, you planned. When they forgot you, you studied them. Every weakness, every tell, every soft spot in their armor. You collected their egos like evidence in a crime scene, one you were building the case for. And when you finally reappeared, you didn't walk in the same. You glided like the gravity that used to hold you down was now terrified of touching you. That's what scares them, isn't it? That you came back different. Not just stronger, smarter, not just colder, collected, not just alive, awake. You stopped needing validation, and that made you untouchable. You stopped explaining your pain, and that made you mythical. You stopped chasing, and the world started orbiting around you again. Now every room you walk into feels tense. Every conversation shifts when your name surfaces. They pretend they're not watching, but their pulse betrays them. Because deep down, they know the truth. You let them crown themselves on your grave, just so you could take it back with interest. That's the secret, isn't it? Power isn't in domination, it's in control. Control over your emotions, control over your silence, control over the narrative they tried to write for you. You became the author, the villain, and the legend, all in one move. And that crown, it wasn't stolen, it was returned. You want to know why it fits you so perfectly? Because while they were polishing it for applause, you were forging the head that could carry it without collapsing. You built the neck that doesn't bow. You built the eyes that don't blink under scrutiny. You built the smile that unnerves every liar in the room. You turned pain into posture. And now the world calls it charisma. They'll never admit it, but they envy the way you move now. You don't chase attention. You command it. You don't need to speak. You radiate. They can't decide if they want to destroy you or become you, because they've never met someone who lost everything and came back with clarity. You see, the real power of coming back isn't in proving them wrong. It's in realizing you never had to prove anything at all, that their judgment was never the truth, just noise. And once you stop dancing to the rhythm of their approval, you start hearing the rhythm of your own pulse again, steady, inevitable, predatory. And the more they panic, the calmer you get, because they're still playing for applause. While you're playing for legacy, they want to be remembered, You want to be unforgettable. They want fame. You want fear. And that's the difference. They chase spotlight. You became the lightning. That's why the crown sits heavy on their heads, but effortless on yours. Because they wear it for status. You wear it for symbolism. You wear it as a reminder of what it cost. Every betrayal, every scar, every lonely night, you paid for that crown in blood and silence, and now, every time they see it on you, it's a mirror reflecting their failure. They can't unsee it. They can't undo it. Because deep down, they know they built your legend the moment they doubted you. You're not their enemy anymore. You're their punishment. Every success you achieve echoes like a confession they didn't mean to make. Every smile you wear reminds them how little control they ever had. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? You didn't just come back stronger. You came back inevitable. They thought they'd buried a person. They accidentally planted a reign. Now you sit on their throne, not out of vanity, but out of poetic justice. You rule quietly, efficiently. You don't need to prove you deserve the crown. Your existence proves it for you. You are the living embodiment of every consequence they never calculated. The walking, breathing reminder that the end of one story is just the setup for your empire. And when they whisper, "How did you survive that?" you just smile. Because survival was never the goal. Ascension was. You didn't come back to be liked. You came back to be legend. You came back to burn their version of you and wear the ashes as a masterpiece. So wear that crown like it's fused to your bones. Walk like every step rewrites history. Smile like the chaos bows to you now. Because it does. They thought you were done. But the truth is, you were just becoming divine through disaster. And now, every breath you take is proof that they crowned the wrong one first. Because the kingdom belongs to whoever can rise from the ruin and laugh while wearing the crown they swore you'd never touch. And that laugh, that quiet, unsettling laugh that creeps out of you when the world goes still. It isn't madness. No, it's memory. It's the sound of every scar realizing it wasn't for nothing. It's the orchestra that plays when you finally understand the plot. You remember, don't you? How they pointed, how they mocked, how their eyes sparkled when you stumbled, how they whispered your name like a warning, like a punchline. They thought the story ended there, on your knees, cracked, breathless, humiliated. But every humiliation was a baptism. Every loss was a lesson disguised as a curse. They thought they broke you, but they only stripped you down to the circuitry. They tore away the illusions. They helped you see who you were without the applause. And in that stripped, skeletal silence, something ancient woke up. Something older than ego, older than fear. That thing inside you that doesn't die. It waits. They mistook your pause for weakness. But pauses aren't weakness. They're calculations. You learn to sit in pain without flinching. You learn to breathe in chaos without choking. You learn to move in shadows without losing shape. And when you finally stood up, oh, they didn't even recognize you. The eyes were the same, but what lived behind them wasn't human anymore. It was purpose. It was precision. It was power that doesn't shout. It vibrates. They expected an apology. You gave them an aura. They expected an explanation. You gave them evidence. They expected the same old you. You gave them a creature sculpted by survival and sanctified by suffering. You didn't rise from the ashes. You became the fire that made them. And now every time they say your name, it burns their tongue with irony. Because you didn't just outlast them, you outgrew them. You see, the trick wasn't to win their game. It was to become the kind of player they couldn't even compete with. They use manipulation, you use energy. They use fear, you use presence. They use control, you use chaos with intention. That's the paradox, isn't it? You're both the storm and the silence before it, the villain and the prophecy, the one they tried to erase and the reason they can't sleep. You learned that the crown was never about gold or jewels. It was about command. Command over the battlefield in your mind. Command over your impulses. Command over the way the room bends when you walk into it. And now you don't need to raise your voice. Your energy speaks in frequencies they can't decode. That's why they stare. That's why they whisper. That's why even their laughter sounds nervous now. Because they know. You could ruin them with a smile. You could dismantle their ego with silence. You could walk away from everything and still win. The scariest part? You didn't come back angry. You came back at peace. Because peace is the last stage of power. When nothing shakes you, when nothing offends you, when nothing surprises you, because you've already met the devil inside yourself and made him kneel. You became what they feared most. A creature who no longer needs anything from them, not validation, not forgiveness, not even revenge. Because your existence is revenge, your breath is proof. Every calm step you take in their chaos is a declaration that they never had control in the first place. You let them think you were done, because that's what made the return cinematic. Every empire needs a false ending before the rise. And when you came back, you didn't knock, you didn't ask. You entered, and the world rearranged itself to make room. That's why the air feels different around you now. It's not arrogance, it's gravity. You've become the kind of presence that warps the space it walks through. You don't chase destiny, you bend it. They wear masks to hide their insecurities. You wear your scars as credentials. They speak to be heard. You exist to be felt. They want followers. You command disciples. And they hate that. They hate that you're not chasing them anymore, that you're not competing for the same crown they once waved in your face. Because deep down, they know it's yours. It always was. You just had to lose everything to remember that. You let them think you were done. You let them laugh. You let them build kingdoms on your grave. And then, with a smirk and a whisper, you reminded them who taught them how to build in the first place. Now they study your silence like scripture. They quote your pain like prophecy. They mimic your chaos without understanding it was crafted. And you just smile. Because you know how the story ends. You know what happens when gods pretend to be dead. They don't resurrect, they reclaim. So wear that crown, not as a symbol of victory, but as a reminder. A reminder that you don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to fight to win. Sometimes all it takes is one smirk that says, I was never gone, I was becoming. And when they finally realize that, when they see what's sitting on the throne they built out of your absence, it'll hit them all at once, that the crown they once worshipped now belongs to the ghost that never died. And now here you are, crown steady, pulse quiet, smile sharpened just enough to cut the air when you breathe. They don't even know what to call you anymore. Success, survivor, anomaly, curse. Because how do you define someone who beat the system by becoming the glitch? You see, you stopped trying to fit their frame. You started painting the frame itself. You became art they couldn't interpret, too complex to mock, too real to deny. And that's when the fear set in. Because people don't fear monsters, they fear proof. And you're proof that destruction doesn't end a soul, it refines it. They built you a coffin, you turned it into a throne. They gave you silence, you turned it into suspense. They crowned themselves, You let time crown you instead, and now every headline, every whisper, every glance, they orbit your ghost. They can't decide whether to worship you or warn others about you. That's the sweet, cruel beauty of it all. You didn't come back to show them your power. You came back to show them their limits. You came back to prove that the one they buried isn't the same one who came crawling out of that dirt. Because this version of you doesn't chase redemption. This version embodies it. You don't beg for forgiveness. You force reflection. You don't talk about pain. You radiate what survived it. And now they see it, don't they? That glow that doesn't come from light, but from fire that learned to burn clean. That calm that isn't peace, but control earned through chaos. That look in your eye that says, you can't hurt me anymore. You built me too well. Every empire needs its ghost story. You're theirs. The whispered warning in every hallway of power. The reminder that arrogance breeds architects of vengeance. The one name they say softly, because even uttering it feels like summoning something that remembers. So stand there, still. Let them stare. Let them choke on their memories of who you used to be. You don't owe them words. You don't owe them explanation. Just the silence that makes their skin crawl. Because silence, when worn by the undefeated, is so loud it echoes through bloodlines. You let them think you were done. And now, as they tremble under the weight of the crown they can no longer lift, you smile that same unholy, knowing smile. The one that says, you should have finished me when you had the chance. Now it's too late, because you didn't just come back, you took over. Not out of revenge, not out of ego, but out of inevitability. You were destined to wear the crown they mistook for theirs. And every beat of your heart now sounds like prophecy fulfilled. So let the world watch in disbelief. Let the same ones who doubted you bow out quietly, pretending they always believed. You don't need to remind them of what happened. Your existence is the reminder. You let them think you were done. And now you walk through their ruins, wearing their crown, with that terrifying grin carved by evolution itself. As the wind whispers the truth they'll never outrun. He never died. He just changed forms. And that's the difference between them and you. They play for applause. You exist for legacy. They break for pressure. You breathe in it. So go on. Keep walking. Let the ashes settle around your boots like confetti. Because this, right here, this is your coronation. Not of power, not of revenge, but of becoming. And the crown, it never belonged to them. It was just waiting for the one ruthless enough to earn it in silence.